Chris Isaak brought out his first album in 1985. On the album was a hit called The Wicked Game, and he went on to fame and fortune, but I think a lot of us remember his television series, which was filmed right here in Vancouver. We did this interview with Chris back in 2011.
First music that I grew up listening to, Elvis, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, and I grew up listening to my parents' records, and I never realized at that time that all those guys started their recording in one little studio in Memphis, recording for Sam Phillips at Sun. And that studio's still there, and we went back and made a record there, and coming out in a couple weeks.
No, I was going to ask you that. So you made it right in the Sun Studio?
We made it in Sun Studios, and I think what started it was about a couple years back. I was touring, and I was going into Memphis, and Lisa Marie Presley was going to be there, and Priscilla was going to be there, but Lisa Marie was on the bill with us opening, and we were talking, and I said, I want to meet Sam Phillips. And so we had set up to meet him, and he passed away before we got there. And this is a weird story, but I'll tell it anyway. He put out a magazine interview, Oxford American, and I'm reading the interview here in Vancouver when I was doing my TV show. I'm reading the interview, and I'm waiting. I was like savoring this interview, and I get to the end, and I didn't know what it said. Get to the end, it says, so what new, it says, Mr. Phillips, you work with Elvis, all these people, who do you listen to today? And he said, I listen to Chris Isaak, I really like his music. Man, I mean, literally, I fell out of my chair. It was like, that was the most...
Great honor.
That was the biggest honor I ever got, better than a gold record by far. So it seems like it came full circle. Here I am making a record with all these artists that he really discovered.
The studio, when you go there, this legendary studio is very tiny.
Very.
People don't realize.
People expect, you expect all those stars that it's going to be a great big place with limousines and hot tubs, and it looks more like a barber shop.
It does.
It looks like a little barber shop. But I'll tell you something. You walk in that door, and anybody who's a real musician, you just stop, because you look and you go, the list of talent that has walked through that front door. You go, I mean, Howlin' Wolf, B.B. King, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, they all walk through there, and all of them walk through there going, I hope something's going to happen. And we went into that studio, we had more fun making this last record. And I'm proud of it, and I'll tell you, you'll understand this, and some people will understand if they listen to this, but most people, this is going to go over their heads, but I don't care. I tell it anyway.
Tell it anyway.
We went in there and we did it all in a take. We didn't go in and do headphones and I'm going to sing the vocal later and fix it and there'll be a computer mix and we'll do. We went in and we said, no headphones, everybody listens into the room. And we've been practicing, and I said, you guys have got to play at the level where I can sing, because you got to hear me sing, and I'm not going to scream. I said, I got to sing, these are pretty songs. So we got there, and there's a guitar player was there who played with Jerry Lee Lewis, Roland James.
Yep.
Roland couldn't be a nicer guy. And I said to Roland, in front of my guitar player, I said, Roland, I got a question. I said, I read all about it, I know all these records by heart, but how loud did you guys play in the room? And he says, we played as loud as we wanted. And my guitar player looked at me like, oh boy. And then he says, but you got to remember, Chris, it was 1956, because we didn't want to play very loud. And I could have kissed him. I went, yeah. And we kept it in the right level, and we did it all in the room.
You also are featured on a tribute to Buddy Holly, an album called Listen to Me. Yeah. And you're doing Crying, Waiting, Hoping, one of my favorites.
Yeah, it came out really good. And I did a kind of a different version of it, because I always thought that song, I mean, Buddy Holly's versions, that crying, waiting, hoping, you come back, you're the one. It's kind of happy, but mine is a little more, I like the words that are, I'm crying, waiting, hoping you'll come back. I go, crying, waiting, hoping you come back, you're the one. I've just brought it a little more, it's more of a ballad.
More of the mood.
And it's a ballad, and the guitar part is like a really, instead of somebody going crying, crying, waiting, waiting, instead of that, I've got a guitar that does a real kind of nice, pretty riff in between, and it's pretty. If you're breaking up with somebody, I guarantee it'll make you cry. I'm a fan of Bruce Springsteen. I'll tell you something about him. He's, backstage, when I was starting out and I was just an opening act, and we were the guys who the people were going like, honey, bring the beer from the car. No, it's nobody, don't worry. We were on stage singing our hearts out. Springsteen, I looked over and Springsteen was sitting at the edge of the stage looking at us. And I thought, halfway through I went, that's Springsteen. I went over to my guitar player, I was like, Springsteen's watching. And we were all excited. And we went backstage and somebody said, no, I don't think it was Springsteen. The guy must look like him. And he came back and said, listen to your record, like your music. And that meant so much. I mean, it's like it got us through a tour where all we had was, we ate Diet Pepsi and donuts was all we ate for 3 months, but it was good.
About your acting career, I mean, you were here. Did you live on Falls Creek in a houseboat?
I lived at Granville Island.
Yeah, okay.
And I was on Granville Island, and I paddled a houseboat every night. And when I left, I thought, what are the raccoons going to do without me? Because I used to always bring them snacks from the movie company. And I'd bring snacks out at night, and I'd toss them to the raccoons. They were like, hey, we love you, Chris.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go.
No, I know, it's a wrap. I just had him say hello to James Burton because I'm bringing him in next week.
Cool.
You want me? Okay.
We're behind. Sorry.
And thank
Buddy,
you enough. Oh,
thank you.